That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, guys, really excited to bring y'all this video. First off, because we have a new microphone, and that's due to all the support that we've had on Patreon as of late. So if you've decided to support the show on Patreon, I owe you a massive thank you. Like, genuinely, you are helping upgrade the channel. Genuinely, you are contributing to us just growing this overall network. So I just need to do everything that I can for y'all. And because of that, what we are going to be doing is over on Patreon, that's actually where you're going to be finding our rookie draft guide for 2021, as well as our 2021 fantasy football draft guide once we get to redraft season. So yes, I owe everybody a massive thank you. I'm going to be trying to do everything that I can for y'all going forward, including bringing y'all both of those draft guides over on Patreon. Now, what we are going to be talking about here is something that I don't want to, just to be completely honest. So y'all know that Mac Jones was a quarterback that, if you've been paying attention to the rookie rankings over on Patreon, we've been nonstop moving him up those rankings. He started out as a mid-second round pick for our Superflex rookie rankings, and now he's all the way up to the first round, and it may look like we are going to have to raise him up a little bit more. And this is because something I did not expect happening is looking more and more likely, and that is the San Francisco 49ers drafting Mac Jones at 3 overall. Now, personally, I really don't want to see this, and I want to say it's unlikely, but at this point, we can't ignore it. Now, of course, I'm not going to sit here, and I'm not going to act like we are some draft scout, some guy that's going to grind the all-22 tape, and I want to be completely honest with y'all. I am almost done writing the quarterback chapter for the rookie draft this offseason, and this is what we talk about a lot. These guys that may come out and may tell you that they can grind the all-22 tape for these quarterbacks and they can come away with quarterback grades and they're going to be able to help you based on their film evaluations, they are straight up liars. Now, no, they are not directly lying to you. More so, they are lying to themselves, because I just want to highlight a few key things here. We understand that NFL teams have tens and millions of hundreds of millions, actually, of dollars going into the investment of these franchise quarterbacks, these guys that they're going to be spending early first-round picks on. Obviously, their contracts aren't that high, but the revenue that a Patrick Mahomes is going to bring your franchise compared to the revenue that as Josh Rosen, a Sam Darnold, is going to bring, the difference is hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. So we understand that so many resources are being poured in by these NFL franchises to give their scouting departments not only the best talent that they can find across the entire country in terms of just football scouts, but also those scouts that are supposed to be some of the best quarterback scouts in the entire country. They are getting access to resources that we simply don't have. They are the ones that get to go see practices. They're the ones who get to go talk with the quarterback, work out with the quarterback, and really get a great overall feel of what they're bringing to the table. Where people that are having Dynasty fantasy football podcasts, people that are making Dynasty videos, they're sitting here on YouTube like everyone else. They're watching all 22 tape. They don't even have every down from every game. They don't have 10% of the resources that these entire NFL scouting departments have. So, yes, I am not going to say that these Dynasty analysts that are sitting down watching film and giving you their QB evaluations are lying to you directly. They are lying to themselves if they think that they can more accurately predict NFL success at the quarterback position compared to entire NFL scouting departments when NFL franchises have so much money to hit on these quarterbacks. Now, that isn't to say that all we should be doing is trusting NFL teams. That is not to say that all we should be doing is going through and drafting these quarterbacks in the order that they go in the NFL draft, because we know that the NFL and fantasy, they're not the same thing at all. What we are looking for in fantasy is we are looking for these quarterbacks to land in great situations where the volume should be there, the skill positional pieces around them, as well as the head coach, the offensive line. They need to be in place where these quarterbacks, despite whatever skill level they may have, because we know you go to a New York Jets with Adam Gase in the case of Sam Darnold, and who knows, maybe Sam Darnold would have been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL if he didn't go to that situation. But at the end of the day, how much did it really matter? Because his career was already ruined up until this point, being in that horrible situation. So A, we need to make sure we are evaluating the situation. And B, we need to make sure that we are going to be looking at rushing upside for these quarterbacks. Now, like I said, we just got done with the quarterback section of our rookie draft guide, and we dive into depth what we've actually seen over the past decade and the trends that we have from the top 10 finishers at the quarterback position, not only in terms of what kind of NFL draft capital they saw, but more importantly, what kind of rushing equity they had on their offenses. We want to look at rushing yards. We want to look at rushing touchdowns, and there is a clear trend. The days of a top 10 pocket passer going and finishing in the top 10 of fantasy rankings, they're over. If you can't come out and if you can't rush for 200 yards, projecting that quarterback to be a top 10 quarterback, despite whatever their talent level may be, is going to be an outlier. You are betting on an outlier because in today's age, rushing production is almost everything for these quarterbacks. And obviously we're saying everything with a grain of salt because there's so much more that goes into it, but it's a major key that you can't overlook. So let's dive in what's going on with these quarterback situations. Let's dive into what's probably going to happen in the NFL draft. And obviously Trevor Lawrence is going to be going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we've been on record saying Zach Wilson is going to be going to the New York Jets. And if you look at sports books across the internet, they agree with us here. Zach Wilson is actually currently minus 2,000 to go to the New York Jets. So it's pretty much a guaranteed lock that you're going to see Wilson at that number 2 overall selection. And that's where we get to the 49ers, because like we were talking about with these quarterbacks that you want to see them come in and find a fantastic situation right away with the NFL draft capital to go along with that. That's exactly what you have in San Francisco. You have the 49ers with one of the best offensive-minded coaches in the entire NFL with Kyle Shanahan. You have them with also, in my opinion, the best overall tight end in the entire NFL in George Kittle. Not only what he provides you with a receiving capability with elite yards after the catch, but also what he can do in line in the run blocking game. I mean, George Kittle, definition of elite, definition of that tight end that is going to be drastically increasing the overall efficiency for your offense. To go along with this, we know that this is a team that has significantly invested into the wide receiver position over the past 2 NFL drafts. They had Deebo Samuel in 2019, as well as Jalen Hurd. Jalen Hurd, a player that we haven't even seen on the football field yet, but I want to say he has some upside, especially if he's the wide receiver 3 in your offense. And more importantly, last offseason, they decided to draft Brandon Ayuk, who had a fantastic rookie season. So now we're looking at the San Francisco 49ers, and we're going, you know what? This is a team that has a fantastic situation, one of the best situations in the entire NFL, with the head coach, with the skill positional unit around them, as well as a great offensive line. So it's shaping up that if the right quarterback falls in the spot, they can be a top 5 fantasy quarterback easily. Maybe not in 2021, but in 2022, going into their second season in the NFL. And now this is where we get the bad news. Now this is where we get to the part of the video I don't want to talk about. And it's because if you go over to some sports books, if you look at the current odds where San Francisco is going to be going with this 3rd overall pick, you have Mac Jones actually leading the way. And no, like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to try to evaluate Mac Jones from what he can do in terms of bringing the San Francisco 49ers success at the NFL level. That is way over my pay grade. I am not going to be trying to pretend like so many other people are that I can sit down here, watch Mac Jones at Alabama, separate him from Jalen Waddle, separate him from Devontae Smith, and talk about what he can be at the NFL level. No, scouts can do that better than I can. I'm going to let them. But what we can do is we can look at the fact that if we are viewing Mac Jones, Justin Fields, and Trey Lance all in the same tier of what they can do for their NFL team, what they can do in terms of getting that NFL draft capital, there are 2 of these quarterbacks that stand out so far ahead of the other guy in terms of what they can do running the football, which we already talked about making a massive difference in fantasy. So obviously, Mac Jones is going to be that pocket passer quarterback. Obviously, Mac Jones profiles to be the Jimmy Garoppolo, the Tom Brady, the Drew Brees, the Peyton Manning. Not saying he's anywhere close to the talent level of a few of those quarterbacks, but he's going to be in that range where you're not expecting 200 rushing yards in a season. You're hoping for maybe 100 total rushing yards in a season. You're hoping for 2 rushing touchdowns, which simply is not going to cut it in the NFL, in fantasy, in today's age. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be saying, but Mason, Mac Jones can run. Mason, I know Mac Jones looks like he has the dad bod, but he still has some mobility in the pocket, and we've seen that mobility in the pocket for quarterbacks like Joe Burrow, who maybe didn't rack up a ton of rushing yards in college, then translate over and be able to do so at the NFL level. But no, guys, I mean, it's bad with Mac Jones. So if we go through and we actually look at the rushing stats for these 3 quarterbacks, you have Mac Jones in 2020, obviously his pretty much only year being that starting quarterback, with 14 total rushing yards. Now, college does it a little bit differently, where if you get sacked, that's actually goes against you for negative rushing yardage. So we definitely need to put that out there. But in that same way of collecting these statistics, Justin Fields, throughout his college career, actually averaged 33 rushing yards a game. So per game, Justin Fields was doubling the amount of rushing yards that Mac Jones had in his entire senior season. Then Trey Lance coming out here, and he himself averages 65 rushing yards a game for his own collegiate career. So we can all agree that right now you're looking at the San Francisco 49ers having possibly one of the best situations that you're ever going to find one of these rookie quarterbacks coming into, with the coach, with the offensive line, with the skill positional players around them. So that side of the coin is shaping up for an elite dynasty quarterback to come in. To go along with this, being drafted 3rd overall is going to be a fantastic mark for whoever quarterback gets selected with this pick. So that's the other side of the puzzle. Now, the last remaining piece of this puzzle is, will this quarterback have the rushing upside to truly unlock that Kyler Murray top potential? Now, 2 of these quarterbacks have it. The other one doesn't, but the other one is currently the guy to be the favorite for the 49ers draft pick at 3 overall. Now, I know a lot of people want to say, but Mason, draft books aren't everything. And it's true. I mean, draft books aren't everything. They're not going to get everything right every single time. But you can go and you can find on the DraftKings Sportsbook that Justin Fields right now is plus 150 to be that 3rd pick. So his odds are significantly worse than Mac Jones at minus 167. Trey Lance is actually at plus 300. So I think that it looks like Mac Jones is most likely going to be the pick at number 3. And if that's the case, we are going to be put in a very tough spot in our dynasty leagues on what do we go with. Do we go with this situation and the draft capital with Mac Jones, or possibly do we go with the rushing upside and what it can bring in terms of the overall ceiling for Justin Fields or Trey Lance, who maybe find themselves in a slightly worse situation later on in the NFL draft? Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. Of course, if y'all did, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. And yeah, that should be it. I hope I see y'all with the video tomorrow. And go down there. Let me know what y'all are thinking of these quarterbacks. Let me know what y'all think the 49ers are going to do at number 3, because it's going to have serious dynasty implications, specifically in Superflex formats.